Sabrina 2000s comic issue 57. Sabrina returns home holding an egg that she calls Junior. The writer ran out of ideas and resorted to the cliché plot where a student has to take care of an object pretending it's a baby. I never had to do this. Is this just an American thing? I've seen this in Ned's School Survival Guide, the Invader Zim comic. I'm pretty sure I saw it in Being Ian too. Gee, I wonder if something will happen to it. Maybe it'll almost get broken. She's not responsible after all. She says she'll put it to bed, as I wonder why she won't cast her protection spell on it. What's the point of being a witch otherwise? Maybe she thinks that'd be cheating and is opposed to that. Her aunt's lampshade that this is strange, and Salem thinks this whole thing gives him an idea for an awesome gag. But first he needs to do research on a book about dragons. In the 90s comic, he said that he couldn't open the door because he doesn't have opposing thumbs. That actually stayed true to the sitcom where he couldn't do as much because he was a cat, which made it make sense that he was turned into a cat as a punishment. It makes me wonder what the point is of turning him into a cat if he can still cause mischief like this. It turns out that a dragon's egg starts out the same size as a chicken egg and continues to grow daily. Because in the old days, dragons were too busy being hunted by knights to give it the care it needed, so they would leave their eggs with chickens. But then the eggs would immediately be found by the chicken farmers. That's the dumbest place to try to hide an egg. The chicken would continue to keep the growing egg warm until it hatched, when the dragon would return. Dragons are extinct here, but not in the other realm. So Salem decides to needlessly stress out Sabrina. He comes out of the magic closet later, thankfully lampshading how lucky he was to spot a dragon dropping off an egg with a chicken. He switches the two eggs. So, if Sabrina's egg is going to be safe the whole time, that's a subversion, but also means there's no actual stakes. Not that I had reason to care whether she did well in the one assignment to begin with. Especially in an episodic comic. The next day, a lot of panels are wasted on boredom. Amy says she has the football team taking turns protecting her egg, which is on a pillow. She's weird. Logically, her teacher would accuse her of losing her actual egg and replacing it. So she'd failed the assignment unless she had the brain cells to simply replace it with a smaller egg before handing it in. Also, how the hell is the teacher supposed to know if the egg that the student has at the end of the assignment is the same one? This would make more sense if they had dolls instead of eggs. After her aunt's warp to Australia for a summer sale, Salem ends up grabbed by a dragon in his house when he's alone because conveniently, the dragon was able to talk to the chicken. Because the dragon counts as an animal too. And it's using that stupid thing where somehow all of the animals understand each other just because it's a cartoon. Not that I'm complaining about this happening, but it's so predictable that Amy's egg ended up destroyed. The football players argued over whose turn it was to carry it for some reason. She'd have a schedule. Logically, she would just easily get a new egg and not get in trouble. She decides to steal Sabrina's egg to get a decent grade. She screams at seeing a baby dragon and decides to get the principal. Note that this is completely ignoring the lore established about dragons in the animated series. Sabrina's smart enough to realize that someone pulled a switcheroo on her, and the dragon bursts through the wall. Salem confesses. Sabrina has to explain to the dragon the obvious fact that the baby dragon is in good shape. Sabrina somehow decides she's got a problem because she doesn't have an egg for class, when it's immediately obvious that she could just zap up her old one. Instead, she decides to borrow the dragon egg that was just hatched in front of her. Miraculously, the principal actually went over to Sabrina because Amy told him the truth. He wouldn't have believed her. He finds an egg and decides to tell the school counselor. Sabrina feels sorry for her, but thinks that's what she gets for being so nosy. Sabrina tells her teacher that she has to keep her egg and returns it to her dragon. She asks the dragon why the dragons don't roost their eggs because they don't have knights hunting them anymore. The dragon says that's not a bad idea, being impressively open-minded for someone who stuck to old tradition for no reason. In the comedy page, Hilda says Ambrose is bringing over his girlfriend for dinner, and the story ends with them bringing home an invisible person. That wouldn't happen. He wouldn't bother giving her a chance. In the next story, my time's wasted with thankfully only one panel of Sabrina and Harvey putting on a play. Someone considers cutting Harvey from the play because he's not considered a convincing playboy since she doesn't know him well enough to know that he has expressed interest in other girls than Sabrina before. This lampshades the fact that whenever he is like that, he seems out of character. Because even though he would do that, he doesn't seem like the type. Sabrina says it would crush him if he got fired from the play, and there's no one she'd rather kiss. He burps from the soda, forgets the name of the girl he's practicing with, and Sabrina tells her aunts that her teacher expects her to improve Harvey. Zelda decides to use magic for the plot for a change instead of Sabrina, which is more fun than bad Zelda. She casts a spell to make Harvey more like the role he's playing, without even bothering to ask Sabrina what role he was playing. Why wouldn't she just cast a spell to make him a good actor? That was obvious immediately. So Harvey gets brainwashed into flirting with another woman and not even hiding the fact that he's a cheater anymore. A bunch of girls call him out, and Zelda tells Sabrina what she did through a painting. It's convenient that she thought to check on how things are doing, when she was that reckless before. She gets called out and undoes the spell, and Harvey still does a great job acting anyways, without the story explaining that he was brainwashed to become a good actor. In the comedy page, Sabrina has a cold and she gets given a potion for it. How is that supposed to be funny? That's just competent. In the next story, Zelda tells Sabrina that her favorite manga artist is going to be in town for a book signing. Since when does Sabrina like manga? We've never even seen her like comic books. She hates superhero comics. It coming out of nowhere makes it hard to take seriously. She likes Betty and Veronica. Granted, you can like other things, but still. It comes off as a blatant author appeal. Sabrina randomly wants to invite someone to come with her. She must be a social person. Then it turns out that Shinji likes the same manga artist. What a coincidence! So he's shown to be more compatible with her than Harvey once again, as Harvey doesn't know what manga is. Somehow, in the age of the internet. It's annoying that the one who's more compatible with her is the one with a bad character design. It's a Sonic and Mina situation all over again. Harvey decides to come along to spend time with Sabrina. Shinji is disappointed that he's not interested in manga, and Sabrina thanks the artist, as they continue to be bored by the mundane story. The artist says they should try to learn how to draw manga, and Harvey says the manga looks pretty cool. Surprisingly, all three of them start trying to do that, unrealistically. You know, you could have mortals do a mortal story. They just have witches do boring stuff because they know it'll be more engaging because you're waiting for them to use magic. Shinji's got a charmingly silly idea for a manga that combines a bunch of different things, which is less boring than basketball. Sabrina doesn't want to tell them what hers is about, and decides to go out with them for pizza. The story ends with us seeing the annoyingly cutesy cover of her comic. It feels like the whole manga thing was shoved down my throat, because her interest in it comes out of complete nowhere in the same story that completely fixates on it for the entire time, without her casting a spell once, implying that the writer has absolutely no idea what we come to Sabrina for. It's almost as if the writer isn't even a fan of Sabrina in the first place. And, like, that would suck. It comes off as unprofessional. It wouldn't be the first time she liked nerdy stuff, but, well, the TV Tropes page long since warned me about the idea that a Sabrina comic would change to a manga art style that everybody hated. So I've been dreading seeing it because I already hate how Sabrina and Salem were redesigned as it is. I'd hate to see the art get even worse. The first story was a cliche plot where Sabrina has to protect an egg because it's simulating a baby. Thankfully there was a twist on it because Salem wanted to pull a prank on her for no reason, he's just a jerk here, by replacing it with a dragon egg, so it continually grows because of magic. But it's still unrealistic that she doesn't use magic to zap up a replacement egg after figuring out that there's something magical about the other egg. So the dragon eventually reunites with Sabrina and the egg, and everything's fine. She doesn't have to brainwash it into calming down or anything. In the second story, Zelda acts out of character from her responsible, no-fun self in a way that bothers Sabrina, because Harvey's rehearsing for a play, but he's terrible at it, so Zelda decides to cast a spell so that he'll become like the person he's trying to act like. Isn't it obvious she had to turn him into a good actor instead? She also did no research on what his role in the play was gonna be, which was also impossibly dumb. So it becomes a Casanova, and then that has to be undone. At least it had a happy ending, because he became a good actor anyways. But it'd be more in character for Sabrina to cast a spell. Zelda never does this. And Sabrina's supposed to be the main character. Sabrina's supposed to be impulsive, not thinking and being responsible, which is the exact opposite. And the third story is an embarrassing, self-indulgent story where the writer's so in love with manga that he makes all the Sabrina characters in love with it too, with no foreshadowing at all, and no magic happens. So that's boring. At least it gives Shinji another character trait because he's really creative. As you could tell by the way that he did his manga. But what was the point of that? Well, unfortunately, the point is to lead into the story after this. Because this, of all stories, gets a follow-up in another issue. And it's a story that causes the comic to jump the shark. I'm not sure I'm going to be wanting to keep to a daily schedule with the next comic. Because I read all of it at this point. And I wasn't too impressed with how boring and contrived it was.